I just finished setting up everything to record this book haul, and I counted my books, and there's 55 books. 55 books. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be filming a book haul. I'm just going to go through and show you all the books I've bought recently. So 55 books to go through. That's a lot, and I want to do it kind of quick. I tried to divide everything up by category. So I have a lot of history, some YA, and just fantasy, sci-fi fiction, and then just a couple of regular fictions and some other miscellany. So let's get started. Since I am a history major and I love history, we're going to start with that first. And the first book I got here is The Lost Tudor Princes by Alison Weir. Basically, this is the story of Lady Margaret Douglas and how the Stuarts came to power, or what led to the Stuarts becoming the reigning monarchs of England after the death of Queen Elizabeth I. I have a lot of Alison Weir's books and I really do like them. And so this is the first of many. One down, 54 to go. Princesses Behaving Badly by Linda Rodriguez McRobbie. This just caught my eye because it's about women, and it says it's real stories from history, so it's intriguing without the fairy tale endings. So they've got it broken up into warriors, usurpers, schemers, survivors, partiers, floozies, and mad women. Apparently there's a woman who wore a meat mask. I wonder if that's where Lady Gaga got her inspiration for wearing the meat dress. But that's okay. But yeah, there's a lot of women in here I'm not that familiar with. So the only one I'm really familiar with is Isabella of France and Lucretia. Probably Lucretia Borgia maybe. So that'll be interesting to read. The next one is The Temptation of Elizabeth Tudor, which has to do with her scandal with Thomas Seymour before, let's see, it was after King Henry VIII, her father, died, and she went to live with Catherine Parr, and Parr was in love with Thomas Seymour, who may have had something for Elizabeth too. So anything to do with Queen Elizabeth, the Tudors, I'm going to get it. Speaking of which, the king is dead. So this is the will, about the will of King Henry VIII by Susanna Lipscomb. In keeping with my love of English history, one of my other favorites is King Henry V. And this is the story about his invasion of France. It's called The Warrior King and the Invasion of France by Desmond Seward. I have a few other of Seward's books. I really got into this time frame with Henry after I watched The Hollow Crown, which is a production of the Henriad, which is by Shakespeare and contains Richard II, King Henry IV parts 1 and 2, and then King Henry V. And of course Tom Hiddleston put on a wonderful production as King Henry V, and that drew me in, so I finally read the histories by Shakespeare, and of course it's not like how he really was, but unlike Shakespeare, reality of course was totally different, and I feel like Shakespeare romanticized him, which was enjoyable, but I think in real life he was definitely much more of a hard ass. When it aired on PBS, I really loved Victoria, and I think Jenna Coleman did an absolutely amazing job, so I bought the companion piece to that show, as well as a biography on Queen Victoria, since I'm not that familiar with her, because in all my studies I only focused on like medieval up until like the Stuarts takeover. So like everything after the Tudors I never really got into. So, but with the PBS show I just really liked it so much, so I bought this to learn more about the woman. A little bit of a switch we're going over to Egyptian history. And that is also one subject that I really like. The book is The Woman Who Would Be King, and it's the story of Queen Hatshepsut. Always butcher that name. But, so yeah, anything about women doing awesome things is good in my book. And I know a lot of her monuments and stuff, they try to erase her from history, so I'm really interested to see what all has to be said in this book. And then, just a general overview. This is the rise and fall of ancient Egypt. So, I'm here for the pictures. I'm just kidding. But yeah, anything historical, I am probably going to buy it. If it's British history, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, Japanese, Korean. I really need to learn some Korean stuff because I'm watching so many K-dramas and I never know, especially a lot of the sageaks is what they call them, the historical ones. And I get all these kings and stuff mixed up, so I need to learn that. But sticking with the history theme, it's now to move on to historical fiction. And the first one is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I actually bought Bring Up the Bodies first, not realizing it was part of a series. So I didn't start reading it yet until I bought this one. And this one is based on Thomas Cromwell. And this is supposedly a trilogy, and they've also done a PBS adaptation, I believe, which I've not yet watched. So I'd probably read it first then watch it, maybe. So I've heard really good things about this series. This is The Queen's Accomplice. This is the Maggie Hope mystery series. And what caught my eye, I've been buying them. I don't think I've mentioned it in videos, but I have in blog posts that I'm notoriously bad for not starting series. I usually buy them all or wait till they're all published before I start reading them. And this is one of those. This is, I think, book number 6. And I've not yet started the series. But basically, this is about Maggie Hope. It's during World War II. That's one of my favorite periods of history to learn about. And keeping with Elizabethan mysteries, this is also another series I've not started, but this is like book 4 or 5, I think. And it's just basically set in the time of Queen Elizabeth. And the main character is Kate Haywood, and she basically goes around solving mysteries, so it sounded pretty cute and cool. This book caught my eye just from the cover. Usually I am a cover person if I don't know the author. Usually if I'm a fan of the author, I'll buy their books no matter what, but this book caught my attention. And this is about a woman named Veronica Speedwell. Basically it's a murder mystery set in Victorian England, and there's a character named Stoker, so I'm thinking maybe vampires, possibly, could be. It's up my alley. And this one is A Study in Scarlet Women. Now what caught my eye about this is that it is, I think, what's it called? It's a Lady Sherlock series. So I really obviously watch Sherlock on PBS. I've got, and then like the complete works of Sherlock Holmes over there. So this just seemed really interesting. Is it Victorian tones maybe? I mean, the dress looks like it. Next 2 books are by C.J. Sansom. It's the Matthew Shardlake mystery. The first book, I don't know, is the first book? Yes. Is Dissolution, and the second one is Sovereign. Murders happen. A guy solves them in King Henry VIII's time. That's all you need to know. Finishing up, I got 2 more. So this is the second book in the Six Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir. And it's about Anne Boleyn. And it's called A King's Obsession, which, if you know anything about Tudor history, King Henry VIII was obsessed with her. So this is actually a fiction retelling. I like the phrase, where did I see it? On the inside in the cover jacket. It says, while history tells of how Anne Boleyn died, this compelling new novel reveals how she fully lived. So I'm really interested to see Alison Weir's take on that. I had a previous book that I mentioned from her, so this is fiction instead of just historical research. So I'm really, I mean, it's combined. So I'm interested to see. And then, I hope I don't butcher this person's name. If I do, I totally apologize. Is it Con Gulden? And it is from the War of the Roses series, which is it basically connects from King Henry VIII, or not King Henry VIII, King Henry V that I was talking about, to the Tudors. So you got King Henry V. He dies. His son's only 1 year old when he dies. Crazy stuff happens. He finally takes the throne. He's not all there. The Yorks, not the Peppermint Patties, but the Yorks, the family York, tries to take over, or take power from King Henry VI, who would rather just do other things. I'm trying to remember what I read about him. I think they said he did have some mental illness, which was probably inherited from his maternal grandfather, King Charles. I can't remember which number he was, but he had some stuff, so that's probably where it came from. And then I'm kind of rambling, but that's how the War of the Roses started. So moving on to kind of like let's go with YA. First up's everyone's favorite Aunt MJ, Maureen Johnson. And this is book 3 from her Shades of London series, The Shadow Cabinet. I don't know if this is the last one or not, but again, I haven't read the series yet because I like to wait till they're all available to read. So, but I love Maureen. I follow her on Twitter, and I just think she's hilariously awesome. So this was her first series I bought from her, so I'm really interested to give it a read. And it's basically about, I think it was, I know in the first one it had to do with Jack the Ripper, if I'm not mistaken, so maybe was there time travel involved? I can't remember. And now the second one is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Adia. I probably butchered that too, and I'm very sorry. I'm currently reading her first book, The Wrath and the Dawn. So I really like how it's going, so I went ahead and bought the second one so I could have it. The School of Good and Evil by Soman Chanaini. Gosh, I'm so sorry with these butchers. I mean, my last name gets butchered, so I feel bad. So, but this is the last book called The Last Ever After in the series, so I'm really interested to finally be able to read this series because I've been a good 2 or 3 years waiting for it to finish. Next up are books by Victoria Aveyard. I've seen everybody talking about The Red Queen online, so I finally decided to go ahead and get it. And then also The Cruel Crown, and I think this is short stories maybe. So I have no idea, but I'm excited to read. And then I'm a huge proponent of Team Internet. I think if you can find people online who you relate to or who do things that you like and support, I think if you can support them in turn, it's very good. So I went ahead and picked up Zoe's first book, Girl Online, just to give it a read and see how it is. I know there's 3 out total, so if I like it, I will buy the other 2, I promise. But yeah, I think Zoe is really awesome. I think she's really funny, and I think a lot of what she does will come through in her books. Another one I've heard people talk about online is Throne of Glass, sorry, my bad, by Sarah J. Maas. And it just, I've always, in the bookstore, I've always went by it. I kept looking at it. I would never get it. And then repeat every visit. I'd see it, I'm like, do I want to get it? Do I not want to get it? I don't know. But basically, it is about magic, or in a world without magic. There's assassins. She has to kill people, and if she does, she'll be released from prison. And I'm basically reading the back because I'm lazy, but yeah, it looks pretty cool, you know. 2 men love her, the whole land fears her, only she can save them all. I mean, if that doesn't pull me in, I don't know what will. And then I got the last book in Ransom Riggs' series. What's it? Miss Peregrine's Peculiar. Oh God, Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children. I've already read the first 2. I was waiting forever for it to come out in paperback, and it never did. So I was like, well, I'll go ahead and buy it in hardback. And then, no joke, the next time I went to the bookstore, it was in paperback. And I'm like, because I'm one of those weirdos, I like to have either all hardback or all paperback. And when they get combined or mixed up, it just does something to my soul. But anyways, so I finally bought the last one of that. And then also Tales of the Peculiar, which was mentioned throughout in the books. So I'm really excited. I really like the story. The movie adaptation didn't bother me too bad. Of course, for those who read the book and saw the movie, clearly towards the end there's one big deviation. But that aside, I can see why they did it if they don't make any more movies, but I really hope they do. So, yeah. So that's it for the YA stuff, and this pile is just growing bigger. So moving on to like the sci-fi-ish type of books. This is one series. I usually don't buy them all at once, but this one just sounded so fresh, I guess would be a good word to put it. First one is God Save the Queen. Second, The Queen is Dead. And then Long Live the Queen. They're all by Kate Locke, and it's a story where Queen Victoria rules. She's dead, but she rules. Let me read it. This would be better. It's where Queen Victoria presides over Britain, where the aristocracy is composed of werewolves and vampires, goblins live underground, and mothers know better than to let their children out after dark. This is one where the cover caught my attention again. It's called Strange Practice by Vivian Shaw, and it's about Greta Helsing, Doctor to the Undead. So I don't know if this is going to be a series or not, but it just drew me in. I have to share these openings. This is what. So you got a vampire. He doesn't feel good. It's like, oh no, I'm going to die. Help me. And so here's the doctor giving him medical advice. Great, and now he's happy. Anything supernatural-ish, I will probably, yes. This is A Season of Spells by Sylvia Izzo Hunter. I bought the first book in the series, or actually the first two books. I'm sorry, this is book number 3. So the first 2 books are Midnight Queen and Lady of Magic. This is the last book of a trilogy. So yes, this is the last one, so I can finally read this one now too. So basically the first book, it got me in because it's about magic and it's set in Oxford. Magic, whatever, I'm gonna get it. I'm not doing very good at selling these books, am I? The Hanged Man by P. N. Elrod. I've seen this author's name usually as what's it when they anthologies, that's what it is. So I saw this one. Of course the picture did kind of drew me into the cover, but the description on the back sounds really cool too. Of course it's about murder mysteries, and she's a forensic psychic reader, so that sounded pretty cool. Last one here, which that cover is awesome. Queen Victoria's Book of Spells. This is an anthology thingy, yes, gas lamp fantasy. And it just, you know, one day I was just looking for something different, and it was probably when I was watching Victoria, you know, everything kind of ties together. So, yeah, it's got steampunk, Austen, let's see, fantasy horror, mainstream, young adult. It has a little bit of everything in it. So I decided that I wanted to delve into reading Star Wars books, and these are the first 3 I got. There's just so much in the Star Wars, like I know since they got bought out by Disney, or since George Lucas sold the rights to Disney, however that works, I know a lot of the expanded universe is no longer considered canon, so a lot of the books won't fit anymore, or won't follow that timeline anymore, but still, I just wanted to get started. So one of the bookstores I go to had buy 2 get 1 free, so I got The Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, Bloodline by Claudia Gray, and then Aftermath, Life Debt by Chuck Wendig. So just kind of starting, because there's so much I didn't know where to start, so just pick some and go. This is another one called Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and it's a fantasy fiction one. Basically there's a dragon who takes all the pretty girls I wouldn't know anything about that. So yeah, every 10 years, one young woman must be handed over to the Dragon of the Wood. And we got another one, Gregory Maguire, After Alice. I like Gregory Maguire's books. I've read all of the Wicked, yeah, all the books in his Wicked series. So, and I like Alice in Wonderland, so After Alice, it was just a no-brainer for me. I bought the first two in a series. I think there might be, I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or more, but from V.E. Schwab, but I'm pretty sure it's Victoria Schwab. A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows. Basically, magical London. There's parallel Londons. There's magic. So Grey London is dirty and boring without any magic, and a Mad King, George III. There's Red London, where life and magic are revered, and then White London, where the city is being drained through magical war. And then there was a Black London, but nobody speaks of Black London. Next one is Fantasy Tales from, rephrase that, Monstrous Little Voices, and it's New Tales from Shakespeare's Fantasy World. So it's basically 5 stories from Shakespeare that all kind of come together, and all those characters are now in one story is how I'm taking it. But we will find out. Then here is an actual Japanese style book, not a manga, an actual novel book. It's called Kizumonogatari, and it's by Nishio-Isen. Please pardon my Japanese, I don't speak it very well. There has been an anime adaptation. So this is the prequel to Monogatari. Did I read that right? Around midnight, under a lonely street lamp in a provincial town in Japan, lies a white woman, a blonde, alone, robbed of all 4 limbs, yet undead. If that doesn't sound good to you, I don't know what does. Next book is A Wild Swan and Other Tales by Michael Cunningham. This caught my eye because it was supposedly about fairy tales and stuff, like what happens after the story ends. Another cool thing about this is the illustrations that are in here. And those are all done by Yuko Shimizu. The next book up is The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. It's like a mystery meets a supernatural psychological thriller is how it kind of reads. A daughter dies, then the mother dies afterwards, then the house they lived in was moved into by another mother with a daughter and another sister, and then they find out, let's see here, one of the sisters disappears, and then they find out the story about the people who lived there before them. This next one is The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. It's kind of like reincarnation. Basically, the main character dies, and every time he dies, he always retains his memory. I have a feeling I'm saying the same thing over and over again because I'm tired. I've been filming all day, even though I've only done 2 videos, all the prep. The next book is The Book Jumper by Mathilde Glacier. I probably mispronounced it, but you know, as with all things I do. Basically, the girl is a book jumper where she's able to jump into book stories and interact with them, and that just sounded really cool. I mean, we all book people. Like, I would love to live in the world of Harry Potter. Rep. I think that would be so awesome. I would not want to live in the world of The Walking Dead. No, thank you very much. As much as I love Game of Thrones, probably wouldn't want to live in that world either. Next up is Sad Girls by Leigh. And I picked this up because I love her poetry. I just picked it up without even reading it because I love her poetry so much that I kind of felt like I would love the book anyways. Your first love isn't the first person you give your heart to, it's the first one who breaks it. It's a coming of age story where young love, dark secrets, and tragedy collide. Dun, dun, dun. And speaking of Leigh and her poetry, The Universe of Us. It was the most recent one I picked up. I just love love her poetry. The covers are what drew me in first. And then as I mean, they're not, I don't have the words to explain. I mean, it's not like some's short, some's longer. But I just love them. It's like there's always something you can relate to when you read it. Like the range of human emotions and stuff is just really good. So I already kind of like skimmed through it a lot already, but still, it's good. I would highly recommend you pick up her books, her poetry books. I don't know, I can't speak for the fiction one, but if I love the poetry as much, the fiction has got to be good too. Next up is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. It's been out for a while. I haven't read it yet. That's why it's in this haul. But I love Neil's work. I love how he writes, and I love Norse mythology, and it was a no-brainer. So it's so pretty. So pretty. The Children of Loki. Loki was handsome and he knew it. Yes. Yes. The next ones are some Doctor Who books. Dead of Winter featuring the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. And The Stone Rose with the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. And I love Doctor Who. Welcome to Night Vale in a novel form. If you've never heard of Welcome to Night Vale, I would highly suggest you go to your podcast application, listening device, whatever, and download it. It is such a quirky, fun, at times somewhat threatening and scary podcast, but we love it, and you will love it too. I actually got to go to a Night Vale show, a live Night Vale show. I can't remember, it's been a while, but it was so fun, and it's just good entertainment that can scare you if you think too much about it. And the last two books I have here were from my recent trip to LA when I went to the Getty Museum. So I got the handbook of the collection just so I can have access, even though I took a buttload of pictures while I was there. That's just me. There he is. There's my Van Gogh that I got to see live in person. I could have touched it, but then I would have been thrown out and that wouldn't have been very fun. So, but yeah. So it's just a handbook of all the items in their collection. And the very last thing, also from the Getty, was from one of the exhibitions. That's the word I was looking for. Exhibitions. Okay. So the next book was taken from one of the exhibitions that's currently on, and it is Eliminating Women in the Medieval World. And basically there was a room and it had all these illuminated manuscripts, and it was all focusing about women in the medieval time, their lives, daily lives, things like, actually took a crap load of pictures, let me find them real quick. Basically throughout the exhibit they had stuff about medieval ideals on womanhood, warnings to medieval women in daily life, and medieval women in the arts. And I took like, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I took like a crap load of pictures while I was in there. So it was just really interesting because, again, the medieval period is one of the periods I like the most, and learning about women in that time is also interesting because, as we know, history has been very patriarchal, and yeah, so educating educating myself. For example, one of my favorite stories is about Abelard and Eloise, and this is part of theirs. So from their little part in the from their part in the exhibition. So I really liked it. It was really cool. Any hoodle poodle. that is the last book. 55th book. Haul is done. This is my first one. It might have been a little rambly and disjointed, but that's okay. Because I was just showing the books, because I haven't read them yet. I don't know if I'm going to like them or not. I'm probably going to like them. Let's be real. I probably will. So anyways, yeah, that was my lovely haul. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you think in the comments, as non-spoilery as possible, please. And yeah, let me know if you liked it or not. Let me know if you'd like to see more like this. Let's just talk about books in the comments, because that's fun. And now, I'm done. I'm going to go to bed now. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Basically, I'm going to keep saying basically. And Hashits, I can never say it. I've given up. It is also about a guy who like solves mysteries and solves what am I trying to say? I don't know. Oh my gosh. Books. I can has more sci-fi and fantasy stuff. Book shifted, that scared me. And this is one that's like, kind of like, this is one that deals with, I'm so tired. Lucy's in there caterwauling. Alrighty. Almost done, almost done, almost done. I would like to finish up and go to bed. My bun is falling off my head. Do, 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 do. Fred will be happy. He won't have this light on him anymore. Isn't that right, mister? Sleepy kitty. Sleepy kitty. Oh, you hate me. Zoom, 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 zoom.